Hi, I'm Tim Labore, and my script is Study in Crimson. What was the inspiration? Well, I've always liked stories where there's this imaginary world and famous people talk to each other. And I remember when I was 8 writing a story about Fred Flintstone meeting Mickey Mouse and not really understanding why nobody had done it before. So then later on, I read things like Fabulous Riverboat and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and somewhere came up with the idea of what happens if Sherlock Holmes meets Dracula, and then came up with the cremation angle of this later. How long did it take? It was about 2 years. 2 years and about 6 versions. My process, well, I like to say the subconscious is responsible for everything but scheduling. So I come up with a central idea somewhere, and then I jot down main plot points for like a 3 or 4 or 5 act version, and don't really think of this as real work. I'm really just sort of querying the subconscious. So if what I write doesn't actually stay ahead of the audience, I'm going to throw it away, but I don't worry about it because I've asked the question of the subconscious. So it's a kind of a magical process. Then I create characters that I think need to have conversations. I completely ignore the setting and write sort of disembodied conversations, or at least I did this time. And these are conversations like the gods on Mount Olympus. It doesn't really matter. So I start with the most important interchange. I write before and after, and I hear them talk to each other and rebut each other. And then I start to know what the scene is really about. Physically, I scrawl it all in a little notebook so I can type it in later, and it gets me out of my head. It makes it feel more like theater rehearsal, and then when I type it in, I get this kind of secret revision. Advice for other writers. I love the fact that when you win a writing contest, you suddenly get to give advice. What I did was join a theater company. So I'm not an actor, but I worked as a composer and a sound designer on new plays in Los Angeles, like with Open Fist and Circle X, and I did this for about 25 years. And new plays are great because the writer is always involved. It gets you used to the idea that lines can happen in different ways, that direction can change a scene sort of instantly, that reactions are interesting, and that the script is sort of malleable. So even a bad actor's basic intuitions can fix a script. And finally, why did I enter Scriptapalooza? Well, other competitions just had winners and losers. Some of them did. But I'm a total newcomer. So I knew this one had multiple phases. So I was sort of promised a sense of where I stood. But I also knew that I had written a script that was kind of fun. And so I liked the fact that you have the word palooza in the title. So maybe that was part of it. Thank you so much.